welcome back to my channel. Again, Alyssa Cotten. Here we are at day 9, financial self-care. So as we know on YouTube, there are thousands, maybe even millions of videos on finances. So you're probably thinking, what are you going to tell me that I don't already know? And I'm going to be letting you know from the mental health lens, right? So we're talking about financial self-care and what we can do to incorporate that on this wellness journey to have a better relationship with money and to be mindful of that finances is a part of self-care that so often feels like just kind of a means to pay the bills, or a reason that we go to work is to make money. But reminding ourselves that as we're on this wellness journey, we're trying to look at all the areas of our life, and so finances is a really important one. So finances tend to be either like a topic that no one wants to talk about. It's like, ooh, we don't talk about your finances. Or it's kind of something that's celebrated. Like, oh my gosh, you hit a huge milestone. You got a raise, you got a bonus, you got a new job, or you were able to buy something really exciting. And so when we look at our finances and we look at our financial self-care, what that really looks like is your relationship with money and how you can nurture that relationship with spending, with savings, your spending habits, your saving habits, planning for the future. So they're all really great ways that you can kind of nurture and work on your financial self-care. So here are some things to think about when you think about finances. When you hear the word finances, what's that first thought that comes to mind? Is it, ooh, I don't want to talk about finances? Or is it really intriguing? Or do you feel like you are super financially savvy and finances are your jam? And so really asking yourself, what is my initial thought when I think about finances? And that's going to lend us to have more information about your relationship with money. Did you grow up in a household where your parents had to live, or your primary caregivers had to live paycheck to paycheck? Or did you come home from school and there was no doubt about that there was going to be food in the fridge? A lot of times the way that our parents spent money really shows how we spend money. So you could have done two things. You could either kind of mirror your family spending habits or do the opposite. Me personally, I am a saver and I don't like to spend impulsively, and some of my family members is the quite opposite. So I'm not really sure about that one, the whole argument of nature versus nurture. But going back to financial self-care and asking yourself, what kind of relationship do you want with money? Do you want to look at money as just a part of an exchange that I'm working this many hours, or I'm doing these kind of services in exchange for an hourly rate or a commissioned rate or kind of service? Or do you feel like money is the key to unlock happiness, abundance, financial freedom? And so asking yourself, what kind of relationship do you want to have with money, and how can you nurture that? So some things that you can do to nurture your relationship with money is, when you spend it, are you mindlessly swiping the card, or are you acknowledging that this spending equals 5 hours of work? Or is there kind of a balance that you're able to budget out your month and spend accordingly? Or are you someone who is super impulsive and tends to live paycheck to paycheck because you're unable to budget your money because of impulses? And so impulses can go back to kind of the earlier videos with the thoughts and the feelings. So our emotional self-care and our cognitive self-care really lend to those impulse control, especially with spending, because if you're spending on an impulse, or there's an internal desire that I have to have that is an emotional reaction. And as I said in the last video, emotions are not facts. So you might have a strong emotional reaction to buy something. Let's say it's the newest iPhone, the newest gadget, the newest TV, the newest clothing item, the newest trend. You might have a strong desire to buy that. But again, emotions are not facts. So ask yourself, what do I really need this for? What's the purpose behind this purchase? Is this to really help me grow as a human, or is this something that I'm going to throw out in 6 months? So a lot of the stuff for finances is asking yourself patterns. So what kind of patterns do you have with spending? On payday, do you treat yourself and you go out to dinner, or maybe go out shopping, and then a couple days before your next payday, you're like, oh, I really need to stretch it out until I get paid again? Or do you feel like you're able to have a nice flow with your income and you're able to kind of keep it at a steady up and down with your spending and the money coming in versus the money coming out? And if you have debt, a really great question to ask yourself for financial self-care is, what can I do today to work on my spending habits, work on my relationship with money so that my debt doesn't continue? Obviously, there's different types of debt, right? There's consumer debt versus living debt, right? Car debt and house debt, majority of people have because they're unable to buy that cash. But consumer debt is like credit card debt, traveling debt, expenses such as buying the latest items, the trends, all of that kind of stuff is more that consumer debt that you're consuming. But once it's gone, it's gone. It's not really going to help you, like give you shelter or drive you to work. And so really asking yourself, what are some of your patterns that you have with money? Also, there's also an extreme, right? There's a huge minimalist trend right now. And with the FIRE movement, it's all about living way, way, way below your means so you can save a lot to retire early. But then you also have to ask yourself, if I'm so unhappy with saving every single penny and finding every single way to save another dollar, am I just delaying my happiness for the future? And that's where it's all about that balance. How can I spend a little bit more now so I can have some balance? Yes, that might mean you retire a year or two later, but again, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So find ways that you can live in the moment to be happy in the present moment. So there's all just kind of different topics. We can go on and on for finances. As I said, there's like a million YouTube videos out there on finances. So your financial self-care, at the core of it, is just your relationship with money and what kind of relationship that you want to have. So today's reflective question is, what is your current routine for financial self-care? So that's just kind of like, what is your current relationship with money, your current relationship with your spending habits? Are you more impulsive, or are you more of a budgeter? Or are you kind of super, super frugal and you don't spend any money even though you have money? So asking yourself what kind of finances is your relationship with. And so the inspired action is, I'd like you to do something today for your financial self-care. And that might be looking at your budget. That might be looking at what are your retirement goals. That might mean what are my consuming patterns? What can I sell in my house? What can I get rid of? What can I get out of my wait list cart so I'm not tempted to buy things? Or maybe you don't take your credit card and maybe you start using cash. So ask yourself, what's an inspired action you can take today that's going to help elevate your financial self-care? So it's super exciting that you are on this journey, especially when we talk about money. And sometimes money is kind of taboo. We don't talk about it. But in order to continue this wellness journey, we have to talk about all the areas that we're really not examining. So talk about your finances. If you're in a relationship or you have a family, talk about your finances with them and kind of explore that journey. Awesome. My name is Alyssa Cotten. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. We've got another video coming out tomorrow. Have a great day.